Hi everyone and welcome to yet another update for Pendos Eyeshadows 2023. This project was created by Alexi, and as always her channel is going to be in the description box. If you're not familiar what Pendos Eyeshadows is, it is a project that I think was started in 2018, and ever since then it grew more and more popular, not just on YouTube but also on other social media platforms. And the basic premise of it is that you select a number of eyeshadows and you try to hit pan on them. Different people tweak the rules to their liking, and the way that I do it is I randomly select 5 eyeshadows and I try to hit pan on them, and once I have a pan in one or more of them, I can roll in new eyeshadows to replace them, and then I need to hit pan on those and so on. Yeah, this update should be pretty good because I have a few pans to share with you, and I'm also pretty excited to film it in general because the few eyeshadows that I have not hit pan on during this past month, I'm kind of burnt out by them, so I'm hoping that the new shades that I will be rolling in will reinvigorate my passion for this project. So yeah, let's just get into it. As always though, before I get into the eyeshadows, I just want to remind you again that the war in Ukraine is still happening. So if you would like to help, I have a few organizations listed in the description box that you could potentially donate to if you feel compelled and you have the funds. Any help is welcome. This war has been going on for way too long and a lot of damage has been done already and a lot of people have suffered, and yeah, I just wanted to end. And as I said, help is very much needed, so if you do end up donating, thank you so much, it means the world. But other than that, let's just get into the eyeshadows. So as always, I will talk about my eyeshadows from the one that's been in this project the longest to the one that was rolled in most recently, and currently the oldest shade in my I don't know, color story comes from this wonderful palette, which is Moonspell by Lunar Beauty. And the shade that I have from this palette is called Fiona. I used Fiona a total of 8 times. And here is what it's looking like today. I hope you can see there is a pan in it, which is pretty awesome. I was very surprised to have hit pan in it in just 8 uses, because as you can see I have 3 more pans in this palette: Phoebe, Sabrina, and Nancy, and all of those shades, if I remember correctly, took me at least 15 uses. So yeah, I'm quite surprised I was able to hit pan in Fiona in just 8. Here's a swatch of it. It's a very pretty kind of like reddish brown to teal duochrome satin. I mean, it's not that special of a shadow. I remember, and I'm sure many of you do as well, how these shades were like everywhere at one point in, like, I don't know, 2016 or something, or 17, like the Lime Crime Venus 2, and I think the Many MUA, and like one of his collabs also had a shade like that. Yeah, so it's not really that special of a shade, but it works great, and I enjoyed using it while I was using it. As I mentioned in my previous update, the way that I like to wear it the most was as just like kind of like a blended out smoky eye with just this one shade on like very close to my lash line. So yeah, that looked pretty cool. I don't know what else to say. So yeah, we will be rolling the shade out and rolling in a new one towards the end of this video. So let's just get into the shade number 2. All right, so the second oldest shade in my current lineup comes from this palette, which is Lime Crime Venus Immortalis. Talking about Lime Crime, the shade that I rolled in from this palette is called Echo, and I used Echo a total of 12 times, and here is what it looks like today. I hope you can see. I did also hit pan in this shade, which I was also very much surprised, because if you remember my previous update, I was saying that this shade might be one of those that will take me quite a while to produce a pan in, and yet here we are. So I realized that, so I have pretty much all of the Lime Crime Venus palettes that are of this size, and I've noticed that the earlier ones, at least Venus 1 and 2, have deeper pans than later ones. So that's something. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's a beautiful shadow. I very much enjoyed using it. Here is a swatch of it. It's kind of like a very pretty taupey shimmer. Absolutely gorgeous. Similarly to Fiona? I forgot which one. Fiona, excuse me. Similar to Fiona, I also wore this shade as kind of like a smoky eye type of thing, and it looked super cute. So yeah, I'm very much glad that I was able to work on this shade for a couple of months, because it's a pleasure to work with. And I hope you noticed, but I also hit a bonus pan this month in the white shade called Marble. Yeah, so we have 2 pans in this palette now, which is a lot of fun. I don't know. It's great. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it will be rolling out as well. I don't know how I feel about that, because I do really love this palette. It's one of my favorite cool tone palettes, or like my favorite neutral palettes that I own. So I'm kind of not really sad, but not super excited to have to put it away, but I'm very curious to see what we get in its place. So yeah, that would be it for that shade. So let's just talk about shade number 3. Okay, so the third shade I'll be talking about comes from this palette, which is Odin's Eye and Judy, the Red Dragon palette. And the shade that I have rolled in from this palette in this project is called Jade. I used Jade a total of 9 times, and here is what it's looking like today. As you can see, hopefully there is some shiny dip, or I mean shiny pan, Jesus. There's a little bit of shiny pan showing through. It's a very tiny pan, but I was like, it's still a pan, so yeah. It's this shade right here. Yeah, I don't know what to say. This is a very well made eyeshadow and it's a beautiful color. Here is a swatch of it. It's kind of like a chartreusey matte. Very nice. I did very like using it, although I was kind of tired of this palette because if you haven't seen my previous updates, I rolled in Jade right after I rolled out a different shade from this palette, from this project, so I was kind of disappointed. That might be a bit of too strong of a word, but you get what I mean. Not particularly impressed, let's put it that way. So as you could imagine, I'm very excited to be rolling out that palette. And even though Jade, I did very much enjoy using it, I do like these kind of colors. I can't wait to see what lies in store for me. Yeah, I don't know what else to add, so we can move on to the last two shades, which were both rolled in previous update. Okay, so penultimate eyeshadow in my current lineup comes from another Odin's Eye palette, which is the Erd Mini eyeshadow palette. The shade that I have rolled in from this palette is called Paused. Yes, Paused, and I have used it 8 times total, and here is what it's looking like today. So yeah, no pen. But hopefully you can see there is a bit of a dip starting to form. It's a very pigmented eyeshadow, so you don't really need a lot of it. So I am imagining it would take me quite a while to have a pen in it. But yeah, here is a swatch of it. As you can see, it's a very beautiful dark sort of eggplant shade or aubergine. Well, I don't know, something around those lines or along those lines. It's a very smooth and beautiful matte and just a joy to work with, but it's not the most exciting eyeshadow because it's so close to brown that yeah, it's pretty much a neutral. So, and if you're not new here, you know how I feel about neutrals. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, but I am very glad that I was able to roll in this little palette because it's kind of neglected in my collection, even though it is absolutely gorgeous, and I've been getting a lot of use out of it as like in general and not necessarily just for this shade. I've been using Time quite a lot, which is this kind of I don't know how to explain it. It looks white in the pan, but it has kind of like yellow and pink sparkles in it. You can see I'm wearing it today actually in my inner corner, and it's just a very pretty shade and I love using it. But yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, so let's just get back on track and talk about the final shade in my current lineup, and after that we can roll in a couple of new shades to replace the ones we have rolled out. Alright, so the final shade I'm going to be talking about comes from my Focus palette, which is YSL, Very YSL palette, or whatever it's called. The shade that I have been working on from this palette is the 4th shade in this palette. This palette doesn't really have any names, so I just have all the shades from it as numbers. I used this shade just once this month, which is very disappointing. But yeah, it's the top shade over here. It's, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look much different from what it looked like a month ago, so yeah, it happens, you know. Here's what it looks like swatched out. It's just kind of like a kind of murky, muted purple shade. Kind of a matte, but it has a bit of a sparkle in it, so yeah. It's not my favorite shade, especially in that palette, because it's, as I mentioned before, it's extremely hard pressed, and swatching it is a nightmare, first of all. But yeah, it's just, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It might be a great shade for someone who likes super soft and not particularly dark looks, but I like a little more punch. So it's a bit annoying for me, but I'll figure out a way to use it. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, so let's just finally get to the part of the video that I found probably the most exciting one, which is of course rolling in our 3 new shades. Okay, so I prepared my pretty random map. My minimum is 1 and my maximum is 13, 18. I used up 1 eyeshadow this month, so my number of eyeshadows went down by 1, and so did my number of pans, which is kind of annoying, but I'm glad to be done with an eyeshadow. So yeah, but that's beside the point. Let's just roll in 3 of our new shades, replacing the ones from these 4, oh my god, these 3 palettes. So yeah, as always, if I do end up rolling in a shade that already has pan, I will re-roll. But yeah, all this blubbering aside, let's just see. Okay, so the first shade is 859. The one after it is 1286. And the final shade, 780. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna look at my spreadsheet, see what they are, make sure none of them have pan, and then I will show them to you, obviously. Alright y'all, so I'm back with my 3 new eyeshadows, and I'm super excited to share them with y'all because they come from some very cute palettes. So the first one I have here, which we rolled in, was 859, and it comes from, and it's it's a shade called Shallow, which comes from this beautiful palette, which is Musée Beauty The Triumph of Venus. I have an embarrassing confession to make. I have never used this palette before, and it's been out for a while now. Or I mean, it's been in my possession for a while now. Musée Beauty doesn't even exist anymore, so yeah, that's that. But yeah, let's see what the shade Shallow is. I haven't looked at it yet. Oh my god, okay, I'm so excited. So Shallow is this central shade, and it's this beautiful kind of pastel-y blue. That's everything I could ever wanted. I'm super excited. yeah, amazing. Oh wait, this palette looks like I did use it. Maybe I just don't remember it. Oh my god. Yeah, this says a lot about my relationship with my makeup. Either way, beautiful shade. Super excited to use it. Yeah. Let's move on to the next shade, which is under number 1286, and it comes from another palette which I haven't used before, which also have been in my collection for a while, which is the Batty Bean and Shroud's second collab, which is called Hello Bean. So my excuse for not using it is because, as the name suggests, it's kind of like a Halloween palette, and when I received it, I didn't get it like upon launch time, so it was already past Halloween and I didn't really feel like using it. I don't know, it has such a Halloween color story that I was just kind of not feeling it. But either way, I don't know what the shade looks like because I didn't get to use this palette, so I'm not particularly familiar with it. But it's called Woodsboro, and oh no. Okay, so Woodsboro is an orange shimmer. We started out strong and that's where we are now. If you're new to my channel, I don't like orange. It's not a color that I enjoy using, so that would be a struggle. But I'm glad I got to pull out this palette, so yeah. I don't know what to say, so what else to say about it, so let's just move on to the last palette, which is a big one, or like the last eyeshadow rather. It comes from the NYX Ultimate Utopia palette, which looks like this. I think it's the biggest palette I own in my collection, but I think it's very pretty, so I'm super excited to have it out. The shade that I rolled in from this palette is one under number 31. So let's see. Okay. Ooh. Okay, I'm excited about this one. It's actually one of my favorite shades in this palette. Oh, how do I hold it up? It's basically, wait, did I hold it correct? Yep. So it's basically this beautiful, kind of a little, wait, can you even see it? I'm like, I don't know, I hope you can, but it's a very pretty kind of grayish, black and gray purple shimmer. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just super beautiful. So okay. It was kind of a roller coaster of emotions, this new selection of eyeshadows, but yeah, I'm super excited. So let me just swatch out my new color story and I will show you it, obviously, and then I will talk about my yearly and monthly goals. Okay, y'all, so I swatched out my new color story and I'm not particularly impressed by it. So here's what it looks like. Not particularly nice as a whole, but we do have some individually beautiful eyeshadows here. So just to remind you what each of them are, So this on top is Past from Odin's Erd palette. Below it is the first shade in YSL, Very YSL palette. Right below it is one of our first new roll-ins, which is Shallow from Musée Beauty, the Birth of Venus palette. Is that what? Oh, the Triumph of Venus, excuse me. Palette. Then we have Woodsboro from Batty Bean and Shroud Halloween palette. And finally we have 31st shade in NYX's Ultimate Utopia palette. So yeah, there's some potential for looks. For instance, I could use these three together, or these two, or even these two. These two would look very pretty. So there's some options here. It might not look very nice all together, especially compared to this. I think this was a very lovely combination of colors, but I feel like sometimes color stories that are a bit ugly force you to be more creative. I don't know, you might disagree with me. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say about our new color stories. So we can now move on to the goals. Okay, so I did all the counting. As always, I will begin with my yearly goals, and if you have seen my previous videos, you might note that my goal for this year is to have 100 pans in my collection, and if I counted everything correctly, I currently have 81, so 19 to go. I don't know if I'll be able to produce 19 more pans until the end of the year, but I think I might. I think it is possible. So yeah. I don't know what else to add to that, so let's just talk about my goals for next month. So one of the goals is I would love to hit pan on Past, since it's now my oldest shade in my current lineup, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it because, as I said earlier, it's a very pigmented and also a very dark shade, so I don't know how much I can pile it on. So, but I think I can do it. If I use it more as an eyeliner, I for sure would be able to hit pan on it. And I also see myself maybe hitting pan on Shallow, because I've been really enjoying just wearing a little blue eyeshadow, like light blue eyeshadow all over the lid, for like kind of a early 60s look. So I could see myself wearing this pretty much on a daily basis. Yeah, and also maybe the 31st shade from the Ultimate Utopia palette, just because I really like it, and it's also one of a few shimmers, so maybe these three, but who knows how it'll go. But yeah, I think that would be all for me, so let's just wrap up this video. Okay, so that was it for me. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to follow my progress. It was a pretty interesting update, I think, please let me know what do you think about it in the comments. I don't know how our next update will go. Hopefully good. But yeah, I don't know what else to add. I can't wait to turn on the AC and finish the book I've been reading because it's getting really hot in my apartment. So yeah, as always, again, thank you so much for watching. It's a pleasure to have you here. I hope you're doing good, and take care. Bye.